Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 9:38 a.m. South African time. We cross over to the UK and we're going to be joined by brother Massoud Shadjareh. He's an Islamic Human Rights Commission based in the UK. We spoke to him about 2 weeks ago regarding the clashes between Muslims and Hindus in Leicester. And of course, I'd like to think that, inshallah, that situation has quietened down completely. You probably would get uprisings, the odd flash here and there, but we'll hear what Brother Massoud has to say about that. Situation. We're now looking at another situation. Once again, Muslims in the forefront of, I guess, being picked upon, for want of a better word. This time around, we understand that Muslims in the UK are moving towards second class status. This, according to the IRR report that was released shortly. So let's understand what that is all about. Salam alaikum to you, brother Massoud Shadjareh. Nice to be talking with you once again.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Uh, Massoud, what is the situation? We had an interview about 2 weeks ago regarding the clashes between Muslims and Hindus in Britain. That was a direct result of Islamophobia being stirred up by Modi and his BJP party in India. I'd like to hear you telling me that, Alhamdulillah, that has been resolved, that the Hindus and the Muslims are now living in harmony as they have done for many, many years in Britain.
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My salam to all the viewers and listeners. Look, as we discussed last time, the issue is not one of issue of sort of from a religious or theological basis of Muslims being against the Hindus, or indeed this conflict is not a racial one or religious one. It's been unfortunately promoted by the ideology of Hindutva, which is a fascist ideology which is hiding behind Hinduism. And unfortunately, this has unleashed not just conflict here, but it's created conflict in India. And we are seeing that because of the present government, BJP comes from that Hindutva ideology, or many of the ministers are members. So and the prime minister. So really, this has been now injected into the government policies in India. But it's from our point of view, what is happening is that this fascism, which is hiding behind Hinduism, is now being sort of exported everywhere. There are problems in Leicester, which was created by this group. And indeed, we are seeing similar thing being done elsewhere, including California. So really, I think it is wrong to say that this ideology or this problem exists within Hinduism, or I think to say that this is just a misunderstanding between the Muslims and Hindus. It's also, both of these are actually wrong approaches. The reality is that this is, I have said that in past. It's like trying to, and people saying that this is Hindu extremism. It's not. It's nothing to do with Hinduism. In the same way that Daesh has got nothing to do with Islam. And we shouldn't really, these are misuse of
Well,
our religion.
obviously, what you're suggesting is that you have opportunists in the UK, in the US, and elsewhere taking advantage of the situation and creating a lot of disunity amongst minority groups. But as we speak now, would you say that the tensions have kind of quietened down? People like yourself and other leaders from both sides, from the Hindu population community and the Muslim community in the UK, I'd like to hear that they have come together and try to restore calm and peace in the communities concerned.
Well, there isn't, the riots and so forth have ceased, but the underlying issue that Hindutva ideology, which is fascist ideology, is still being promoted within the Hindu community, and sort of it's hiding its ugly head behind the Hindu religious concept. And as long as that happens, it's going to be problematic. And I think what we need to sort of make sure that this concept, this fascist concept, and I keep on saying fascist concept, should be there should be a seizure of being promoted among the youth within the Hindu community as Hinduism. And that really needs to be tackled. And I think if we don't tackle it on that level, we could sit down and have a chat. And there really isn't the conflict between ordinary Hindus and Muslims. If anything, we are all victims of the same sort of racism and otherization. So, I think we have a lot in common as minorities in places like Britain,
Obviously,
United States,
obviously.
and so forth. So, but this obstacle of fascism being taught to youth day in, day out, it's the obstacle, and that has to be
Okay.
tackled not just here but also in India.
All right, let's talk about the issue at hand. It just seems that we've just put aside or addressed one issue not fully. That's those clashes in Leicester. And now we're hearing that British Muslims' citizenship has been reduced to second class status. This is, of course, as per a report released by the Institute of Race Relations entitled Citizenship from Right to Privilege. You're going to unpack that for me now, but is this only targeted at Muslim minority groups in the UK or all other minority groups as well?
Yes, it really is an important topic. We at the Islamic Human Rights Commission have been sort of highlighting this for a very long time. And this report by Institute of Race Relation, it tackles it very appropriately. The reality is that if not exclusive, overwhelming number of people who have been victim of this removal of citizenship have been from the Muslim community. So it's very safe to say that is almost exclusively targeting Muslims. And this thing was brought in, because of so-called extremism Muslims, and it was Abu Hamza, after many, many years, was targeted as a first instant that his citizenship was removed. And at that time, we were involved in that campaign very vigorously, and we were supporting the illegal team. But what has happened now is that it's become prominent. 200 and odd people's citizenship have been removed. 107 of them only in recent years, and it really is escalating. And it's been uh, used as a tool to criminalize the specifically Muslim community. What happens? Let me explain. What happens is that an official, a minister, for example, a Home Office minister, sort of makes a decree to remove someone's citizenship. you have got no right, automatic right of going to court. This decree is not done by a court. It's not, and it, now they're trying to actually extend it to the extent that they don't even have to tell you. They don't have to inform you. They just write a little decree on a piece of paper and they could shove it into their drawer, and you have lost your citizenship. And in
How
the
how
return,
how does that impact on your everyday life? Does that mean that you get repatriated to your homeland? Let's assume you come from the Middle East or India or wherever. Does that, in fact, is that the fear as far as this is concerned? And what if you are a second, third, or even fourth generation British citizen? What happens
well,
then?
well, exactly. That's the point. You see, that's the point. I mean, with the Begum case, she didn't have any other citizenship. She was trafficked into Syria
Oh,
by an intelligent officer. Now we know this by intelligent officers from Canada. So she was trafficked by intelligent officer of Western nation into Syria, and then they took her citizenship, and she didn't have any other citizenship. Um, just because she came from a Bangladeshi sort of family, and her family, her parents had a citizenship, they said that, well, she could apply for citizenship of another nation, so she is dual national, which it isn't. Actually, Bangladesh government announced that we're not going to give her citizenship. She's theoretically is sort of eligible, but that eligibility is not automatic. And so she became stateless, which indeed is against international law. But you see, it's something even more fundamental. If I get a parking ticket, before I'm forced to pay that parking ticket, I could take it to court, I could take it to tribunal, and it has to be tested before I'm forced to pay that. Here, you lose your citizenship. You're going, for holidays to France, or for a business trip to Geneva or anywhere else. And on your return, you're going to be told you're no longer a citizen and you can't come back in.
oh.
It's your homes, your livelihood, the whole, people are born here, and they have got nowhere else to go. It really is outrageous, and they justify it by saying that this is protecting people against terrorism. Wait a minute, I was told, and we were told, that terrorism is an international crime. So it doesn't matter if you committed in one place, you need to actually be apprehended anywhere. It's not something you just throw someone away. And if a terrorist is going to cause havoc in Britain, you throw him into France, and then everything is hunky-dory and is fine. This is outrageous at one point. And the other point is that it's not being just used for anti-terrorism cases. I spoke to one of my colleagues who does many of these cases, immigration lawyer, and he was telling me that we've got cases now that people have lost their citizenship on
Oh.
accusation of what, uh, people trafficking, and and
And it hasn't been proven. It
no,
hasn't been proven in a court of law.
none
Masood,
of them. Look,
unfortunately,
none of them is proven. It's not even taken to the court of law. I mean, look, we are all believe in law being law to be implemented, due process. If indeed someone is guilty of anything, it should be on accusation of a political appointee. It needs to go through the judicial system.
okay, we are unfortunately out of time, but my one final question to you is, if for some reason you've been blacklisted on some vague suspicion, does that mean you're on that blacklist or red list or whatever they call it, and that you're going to be, the moment you step out of line, you're going to be revoked of your citizenship. Um, that's what it sounds like. If you can just confirm my statement, and then also, what are you as Islamic human rights in the UK and other rights organizations doing to circumvent this ridiculous law? How you're going to be protecting Muslim minorities, because they are obviously soft targets as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely. It basically means that these sort of accusations which are being made in sort of dark places, internally, become the basis of people losing their citizenship, and it's being politicized. And in the sort of rise of extreme right, this is causing huge problems. That is a fact. What we are doing, we have actually been approaching both British government and indeed international community. I was in Geneva just a couple of weeks ago and was raising this issue with the special rapporteurs, that this is unlawful, this is unacceptable. And if Britain gets away with this, then many other countries are going to legitimize this. And we are seeing this happening in Middle East, in places like Bahrain and elsewhere. People who are not liked by the government are all sort of put on the ship and thrown out of the country. And really, what we need to do is to tackle this. And there was an understanding in my conversation, both in Geneva and then afterward in Brussels in the EU, that this has to be prioritized by politicians to tackle, because it will create huge problem, and it's something that becomes almost difficult to apprehend that it could be tackled within Britain. But nevertheless, we have a coalition in Britain of not just Muslims but other groups, both sort of from different minorities and others, which are challenging the legislation which is right now going through the government. So on different levels, in different places, we are doing our utmost. And there is a report by Islamic Human Rights Commission on this issue, which will be launched shortly, inshallah.
And that's where we have to leave it. Pleasure talking with you once again, Brother Massoud Shadjareh. You are the Islamic Human Rights Commission based in the UK. Keep up the amazing work. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your efforts. Till the next time, as always, keep us in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The time is exactly 9:56 a.m. We are truly pressed for time, but we do have 2 more interviews to get through. Our next interview is with Professor Sipho Siepe, political analyst, to talk about unity built through conflict being shattered by unfulfilled promises. Of course, we're talking about you, the ANC. Stand by a short break, and we'll be joined by Professor Sipho Siepe.